Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me on this Thursday. I really do appreciate you taking the time out of your day to be here. We are beginning today in Freetown, where an investigation is underway into the rape and murder of 5-year-old Khadija Sakor. And in addition to that, fresh questions about that awful video that I told you about yesterday. If you're with us, a video that was being circulated online across Facebook and WhatsApp featuring the little girl and her alleged attacker. Many questions about how that video came to be in the public domain. We're going to be speaking to journalist and activist Asma James, who is in Sierra Leone's capital for the very latest on the investigation and whether we're getting any more answers about the video and how it made it out into the public. There is a movement for change underway in Sierra Leone. Let us be clear about that. As we talk about this awful moment involving little Khadija Sakor, there are also young people who are taking to the streets. There are young people who are organizing and demanding change. We're going to be speaking to one of the co-founders of the I Am Khadija movement, and she's going to be speaking to us about their goals and just how they foresee bringing about change in that country. Plus, we often hear that victims, survivors of abuse don't speak up, one, because they fear they won't be believed, but two, because even if they need to leave a difficult place, a difficult environment, there is nowhere to go. Well, a number of women in Ghana have come together to change that. We're going to be speaking to two of the co-founders of the of a safe haven that has been that is underway, under construction there, and get a sense from them about the scale of the problem of gender-based violence in Ghana and their efforts to dismantle a terrible system. We have that and so much more. We're also going to be talking to a man on the front lines of the fight against gender-based violence. A lot to get in. Let's get started. Let's face it, we failed Khadija Sakor. Collectively, everybody that was in her life that was meant to keep her safe failed to do so. A culture that fostered attitudes of women being brutalized and sexualized, children being targeted, was fostered in the midst of us all. And we all have a part in that. So we all collectively failed her. The people of Sierra Leone failed her. And now the body of this little 5-year-old is lying in a morgue. She's still not been laid to rest. And her memory is being desecrated by a video that's being circulated, which features this little child with the man accused of attacking her and killing her alleged rapist. So we continue to fail her. And everyone who is involved in that act of sharing it, sending it to other people, is involved in victimizing this child again and extending the hurt of her family. We want to stress again here on Home with Isha Sesay, just in case you weren't here on the show yesterday, if you weren't with us, if you're distributing this video, you are taking part in a crime. You are circulating child pornography. I just want to say that again. I don't want anyone to be in any doubt of what you are doing. And my hope is that if you are doing that, that they find you and they prosecute you, because this needs to stop. So we want to get to the bottom of how this video got out. We want to get the latest on the investigation. Let's go now to Freetown and get the latest from Asma James. She is a journalist and also an activist who has committed her life to fighting these issues as well. Asma, welcome back to the show.
Thank you very much, Aisha. It's a pleasure to be here.
Let me start first with the investigation, and then we'll come to the video. Let's go first to this this need for us to get justice for little Khadija. Where do things stand with the investigation? I believe there have been some updates.
Yes, so I was at the CID yesterday, the Criminal Investigation Department, at the Family Support Unit of that office. And then I spoke to the investigators, and one of them is, I think, Hawana Tudumbuya, and she's Hawana Tudumbuya, one of those investigating the issues. And at that time, they had just spoken to, taking another statement from the guy, who the alleged guy, and then they were asking him about the videos. That at that time the video just came up, and then so after the interview with him, and then I spoke with them, with the FSU, Family Support Unit officers. So they told me that well, he said sometimes he posts those videos on his status. So and then I said, but the police is supposed to get his phone. But then according to them, he said the video, sometimes he posts them on his status. So maybe someone took that video from his status. So is it for the video thing.
Let me just jump right there. I'm so sorry, Asma, because I'm so troubled. Forgive me for interrupting, but I just need to be clear on what I'm hearing. The alleged rapist of the 5-year-old said that he admits that there is a video, or by the sounds of things, maybe even more than one, but he at least admits that there is a video of him in an inappropriate situation with this child, and that he has in the past posted a video, maybe more than. I just need to be clear on what you're saying.
Yes, so he said, according to the investigation, that some of these videos is not necessarily the one he was actually kissing the child, but most of like the pictures they take or the video, he sometimes post them on his status. So and then I said because I think there were 2-3 videos that came out yesterday. I think about 3 videos that came out. So the actual one, I was not there when they were asking him that, but from the conversation with the police officer, that he posts some of these things on his status. And then I went further to ask. It's also they've arrested another person yesterday. I said they have 5 people now in custody. So they have 3 ladies and 2 men in custody. And this is a joint investigation with the Criminal Investigation Department, because it's there is murder involved, and also there is sexual penetration involved. So
to be clear, there are 5 people in custody, 3 ladies, 2 men. Do we know their relationship to the victim?
So the alleged perpetrator, the caregiver, which is the aunt, and then there was another caregiver whom, when the auntie is goes to the shop, she actually look after Khadija. And then there's another guy whom they say sometimes teach Khadija, like his teacher. They sometimes teach lesson. And then there is another one whom I think they said went to take medicine also. So they have 5 people in custody as we speak.
Is there any suggestion that the second male here, not the individual, the relative that has been widely described as the alleged rapist, and the same individual who is in one of the videos kissing this child, is there any suggestion that the other male in any way had molested this child, had some kind of inappropriate relations with this child? Is there any suggestion of that?
No, I can't tell. Because they said, I think he was also involved in teaching Khadija, the late Khadija. So that is why I think they all live in the same compound. So that is why he's being held custody. Because
so for now, it is only the one male that continues to be in the frame and the finger being pointed at as the alleged rapist here. The one male.
Investigations are on, and when you ask these questions, they will tell you we're looking for all evidences that leads to their investigation. So they cannot tell now who was actually involved in whatever accusation is on now. But yesterday, like I told you before we came on air, coincidentally I met them just after the interview with the alleged perpetrator. So the other guy, actually, they are still investigating. And, well, they finished the investigation from the side of the police because, like I said, it's a joint investigation. They have the criminal investigation. The mother, their mother is involved too. And then there is also sexual penetration of a child, of a minor. So these are the two investigations going on. And they've done their investigation. They've sent the file to the DPP's office, that the office of the Director of Public Prosecution. And then I spoke to the Director of the Public Prosecution, and he confirmed that, yes, they've received the file about 2 hours ago, in the file to see what they can do. As you know, like I said, there is sexual penetration. So they want to see exactly what happened and what to charge, if they have to charge anybody in this matter. So yes, the matter now is with the DPP's office for reviewing, and they're looking at all the evidences they have now to charge the matter to court.
I want to be very clear. If the file has gone to the Department of Public Prosecution, is that to suggest that the investigation is complete? Because why would you send a file if an investigation is still ongoing and there are potentially more leads and potentially more people that you would bring into custody?
So this is the procedure from the Criminal Investigations Department. They have to prosecute, they have to go to court. And this is a state case now. So the state, this is a state matter now. So this is how it works. They take the matter from because it's now, it has, even if it's just the sexual penetration, after investigations from the Family Support Unit or the CID, they will take the matter to the public prosecution for advice. They will now say, okay, all these evidences you've gathered, we have enough evidence to charge the matter to court. They will now look at the file, charge the matter, and they will now say, okay, we're going to charge them with murder, or we're going to charge them with the different, they have their different languages they use in charging.
And I get that. I get that the charges will come from the public prosecution's office, that they will assess whether what they're looking at. I get that, but I just want to be clear that the sending of the file to the public prosecution's office does not mean that the investigation is over from the police side. They're still pursuing all leads. The investigation is still active, is what I'm saying. Because normally my understanding is when that file goes, it means we've done everything we can. This is it now. You take over now and let the system proceed.
Yes. So it's again. So when I spoke to the public prosecutor, so he told me they want to know the cause of the death. They want to know if there was anything involved, how she died. And then if they look at all those evidences they have now, they are not satisfied. They will then ask the police for more evidence. And then so if the police have more evidence, they can bring up the evidence. But as it is now, that's the procedure. After investigations from the CID, they send all matters, all files to the DPP's office for prosecution of the case. So that's where we stand as we speak. And I spoke with the public prosecutor 2 hours ago, and he confirmed that yes, indeed, the file is in his office, and they are looking at the cause of death, and also, there is also the issue of sexual penetration of another young girl. So this is what they are looking at. So I asked him how long is this going to take, because the public is anxious. Everybody is just anxious. They want to know the outcome of this case. But then he says yes, he's looking at it, and then he will talk to me. I think by tomorrow or so they will tell me when they will charge this matter to court with all the evidences they have now in their possession.
I mean, the public may be anxious, but no more anxious than her family, who desperately need to see that justice is done by their child. Very, very, very quickly, the video, are they pursuing an investigation into how that video made it into the public domain? Because many people still looking at the police and saying it's more than likely that they would have taken that phone into evidence when they arrested this individual, and now video is emerging 2 weeks later. Is the police saying anything about an investigation to get to the bottom of that?
Well, yes, because as you know, to share this video is a crime, but you know how things work here. I mean,
unfortunately, I do.
to get to know who actually posted it. I'm not saying this is my personal view. I mean, it may be difficult because I was involved also in another case that we need to know who actually sent the video of a schoolgirl in her uniform. Up till now, we've not even. They said yes, they're still looking for whoever posted that video. So I guess it's the same thing with this one, but maybe this one is different. They will try because they also have the cyber unit, and this phone is with the cyber unit now, and they're trying to find out who actually posted the video online. So we hope they can find who posted the video online.
Yeah, we all do. Asma James, journalist and activist, joining us there from Freetown with the latest on the investigation. We appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome, Aisha. Thank you.
So many unanswered questions. Asma following the lead and asking them of authorities. Again, if you're just joining us, we are covering the rape and murder of 5-year-old Khadija Sakor. An investigation continues. There are now 5 people in custody in relation to her rape and murder. 3 women, 2 men. Waiting for clarification. They all had lived in and around her, but it is still, according to Asma, to the best of her knowledge, still only one individual at this point who is formally in the frame and is the accused for the sexual assault and the murder of this little girl. The video, again, we're going to keep asking questions about this video, and it is important that we get to the bottom of it, because we need to stop this. We need to stop this. We need to stop every single part of the chain that abuses women and girls. Every single part of the culture that demeans us must be tackled. And disseminating a video of this dead little girl, a minor, a 5-year-old, in an inappropriate position with an adult male or an adult is beyond the realm of being sickening, but it's a crime. And we need to hold people accountable. So we're going to continue to ask questions. We are still asking questions of the government. We are still asking for someone from the government to come on the show and give us some insight into how they are going to tackle all of this, from the criminal justice situation to the cultural, the sensitization piece, to helping survivors, all of it. We want answers as to what is happening right now, and specifically, of course, Khadija being in the frame and what happened to her. Nobody is accepting our invitation right now. Nobody wants to come on. We are going to continue to invite them. We are always here. They are most welcome, and we'll continue to put out the invitation. But right now, I just want you to know we're asking, and right now we're getting back only silence. All right, moving on to another part of this story. We've talked about the investigation. We now know that there are 5 people in custody. We know that this video is in circulation. We're trying to get to figure out how it got there. There are still efforts behind the scenes for Facebook to take it down, to update you on that. That is underway. And there are young people. There are young people, young women and men in Sierra Leone, here in the United States, who are organizing and are outraged, who are outraged by a system, an entire system failing a little girl. Were outraged by a system where they see women and children targeted to the degree where 9 out of 10 women in Sierra Leone, at some point in their lives, they have experienced some form of gender-based violence. The young people are standing up. Some of them have come together and they have formed the I Am Khadija movement. Take a look at this.
I don't want to tell you this now public, but my man a survivor, my sister a survivor, and I make the first day work now, and I say, I campaigned, I collapse. I didn't come out for almost 4 hours, you want to know, right? So my officer don't die, they post on Facebook, but I'm here today. I'm not here because I'm alive. I'm here because I have the spirit in me, and I believe the justice I'm seeking for is going to happen. Whether now or tomorrow, it's going to happen. Because unless we force the system will not come to us. Now we get for force the system for the work. The system is not working. We are tired. We are sick. This country needs deliverance. Yes. And only we are there for deliver this country. Yes. We need spiritual deliverance. Yes. We need moral deliverance. Yes. We need political deliverance. Yes. We need all kind of deliverance. Justice deliverance. Everything needs to work in this country. We are tired. It's a 100-man march. We are going to march, whether you like it or not. Not all men do rape. Real men don't rape. Shout it after me. Real men don't rape. 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 When I take
real men don't rape. The scene on the streets of Freetown there, young men, young women saying enough, enough, enough of the violence. I'm so pleased that I can welcome to the show one of the co-founders of the I Am Khadija movement, Diaka Selina Kroma, joins me now from Banana Island, Freetown, Banana Island, Sierra Leone rather. Diaka, can you hear me? Welcome to the show.
Yes, I can hear you, Aisha, loud and clear. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for being part of a movement of young people that is demanding change. Talk to me about why this is not the first, sadly, this is not the first case of violence targeting a young child. We know that violence of older people is quite routine. Why did you decide that this was the moment that a movement must begin?
So my work that I do with here in Sierra Leone, I speak up for women and girls. I speak up, I pick up topics that I know are so, controversial. People don't talk about them, like FGM. So when this rape happened, I don't know, for some reason, everyone kept sending me all the pictures and telling me, Diaka, have you seen this? Have you seen this? And I got home in the evening. I received a call from another activist, Hawa Terali. She's also a co-founder in London. Alongside Alima, she's like a mentor to all of us, So that way we were able to call on other co-founders like Haja, who she started a petition right away. The moment she saw the post on social media, she started a petition right away. And then we just got all of us together and said, you know what, we need to come out on Monday because we got the news on Saturday. Mm-hmm. Even though Khadija died on the 17th of June, but we got the message on social media late. So all of us decided, it was like everyone for us, it was like a default mode that Monday, we are coming out. We don't know why we are coming out. We just know that we're going to start first, come out and speak out and let people understand that enough is enough. We can't take no more raping of our girls. And because, so this is a thing, Aisha, people don't understand what rape is and sexual penetration. So for us Israeli, the mindset of people is that, it's when you say rape, it's only with older women. Mm-hmm. So they see that sexual penetration is normal. It's like a culture, It was really difficult for all of us. And I believe that this emotion that I share, so many other young people, 99% of young people in Sierra Leone share this emotion with me, to see that justice is served for once, mm-hmm. just for once.
It was so good to see young people take the lead. You came out on the street, and so you have this energy. How are you going to use this energy now to move forward for change? Tell me first of all about the petition. What exactly is the petition calling for?
The petition, Hajar wrote it to call for international organizations, the Human Rights Watch, just to get their attention about this issue. Because we understand as young people that if you want to get our leaders' attention, you need to call people that, they can listen to. So that for us was one of the move. And another move was let's go out on the streets. So we went out on Monday, and also we came out on Tuesday and on Wednesday. But on Wednesday, we had some hiccups.
What happened?
It was, just like the Black Lives Matter right now. You have people who come to protest for, so the government right now, what they believe in protest in Sierra Leone, they don't believe people coming out and fighting for justice for another civilian life. They just believe that protest is about you coming out and fighting for your own personal gain. So when we came out on Wednesday, we had a confrontation with some of the CID members, and they told us that we need to move back. We cannot stand in front of that to advocate. We need to move back. We don't have a clearance certificate and things like that. So we were like, we don't need a certificate or no clearance for you to give us justice or for us to have some information. What is happening? Today is Monday. What is happening? Like, we need to know. And they had to push us out. So if you looked at the video that you played earlier, was us saying, okay, now you have pushed us out. Now we're going to find someone, galvanize ourselves and send our message out. We also went to the markets, you know, because on Monday, again, Aisha, this whole Khadija issue, they tried to politicize it because the head of a top head of the police, gathered us when we were protesting justice. So he called us for our attention. And he said that he knows that there are two sets of people in this.
I don't want to tell you this now public, but my man a survivor, my sister a survivor, and I make the first day work now, and I say, I campaign, I collapse. I didn't come out for almost 4 hours. You want to know, right? So my officer don't die, they post on our Facebook. But I'm here today. I'm not here because I'm alive. I'm here because I have the spirit in me. And I believe the justice I'm seeking for is going to happen. Whether now or tomorrow, it's going to happen. Because unless we force the system will not come to us. Now we get for force the system for the work. The system is not working. We are tired. We are sick. This country needs deliverance. And only we are able to deliver this country. We need spiritual deliverance. We need moral deliverance. We need political deliverance. We need all kind of deliverance. Justice deliverance. Everything needs to work in this country. We are tired. It's a 100-man march. We are going to march, whether you like it or not. Not all men do rape. Real men don't rape. Shout it.
In this time when we're demanding for justice for a girl who is dead. This is not even a woman over 18. Everything is politicized, Aisha. Everything. So talk to people, let them understand that this is what our decision makers are using, you know, because they don't want to give us justice. So if you look at the video, what communities are asking is so brutal. It's really, really. That guy in court or whatever, they just want justice. Now I just got some information because we're moving based on the information that we have. As you know, in Sierra Leone, you know, this is us trying to go.
I don't want to tell you this now public, but my man a survivor, my sister a survivor, and I make the first day work now, and I say, I campaign, I collapse. I didn't come out for almost 4 hours. You want to know, right? So my officer don't die, they post on our Facebook. But I'm here today. I'm not here because I'm alive. I'm here because I have the spirit in me. And I believe the justice I'm seeking for is going to happen. Whether now or tomorrow, it's going to happen. Because unless we force the system will not come to us.
To get an update, date, what level of, just so I can hear it from you, date, what level of communication has there been from the police, from the government on this matter of Khadija? When was the last time the government spoke out about this?
I believe our president, His Excellency Julius Maada Bio, he gave a speech on Tuesday or Monday, last week, Tuesday or Monday. And they spoke about establishing a task force, which would be like, for me, it's like a pressure group. having people on board who will pressure these different institutions, these different decision makers that are supposed to just get up and do their jobs for once. So we are waiting. I believe from, again, the information I had, they're supposed to call the names of the people in this task force tomorrow on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
So we are waiting.
We're waiting. Does this feel like a turning point to you?
Yes, for me, and I believe also young people across Sierra Leone will tell you that we feel the change coming around us. This is a revolution happening everywhere around us. You see Black Lives Matter. And now, of all countries in Sierra Leone, the country where it's rated to be one of the worst places to be a mom and a woman, you have, people are pushing forward for justice for women and girls. This is a change, Aisha. We will get justice and things will get better.
We will all stand together, because as women and girls, if one woman and girl anyone who is unsafe means everyone is unsafe. So we all must stand together in this fight to make sure that we dismantle a culture of rape and dismantle all the scaffolding that keeps it in place. Daka, thank you. Daka Selena Kroma joining me there from Banana Islands, Sierra Leone. Thank you for being a co-founder of the I Am Khadija movement, for the petition, for keeping the light on the story. We are all Khadija. We are all Khadija. So we all must realize that we all have a part to play. And if you're not part of the effort to fix this, you are part of the problem. So thank you for being part of the effort to fix this. Thank you, Daka. Stay safe.
Thank you, Aisha. Thank you.
Thank you. A lot of comments coming in. I want to say thank you to everybody who's with us, who's watching, everyone who's writing. Messages are always appreciated. So thank you. Let me share some of them with you now, because there's an active conversation going on right now as the show goes on, and that's always important, because the reason we do it here, and the reason why I am happy to be in this medium, in this space, is because in real time we can engage. It is a two-way dialogue. Your voice, your opinion matters as much as every guest who comes on. So that's why we're in the space to make this hour that we spend together meaningful, not just me speaking at you, but a conversation happening, a dialogue. So thank you for that. A lot of people really moved by what Daka had to say and all her statements. A lot of people just saying thank you to the young people. Alimatu Demokene says thank you, young people. Marietta Savage, we are all Khadija. Zana Bangura, please believe your children if their body language changes when they see certain aunties and uncles. Very, very true. We have to be more vigilant about what is happening to our children. We must be paying attention. I saw someone post a question earlier on while I was doing the conversation, asking whether little Khadija has been laid to rest. No, she has not. So I want you to think about that. As this drags on, as people may or may not be playing politics here, may or may not be doing everything they can to make sure that this investigation is thorough, that they have a solid case to take to court, to prosecute those. As that drags on, this little child has not been buried. So I just want everybody to think about that. Very quickly, I just want to say thank you just to everybody. A lot of people calling for justice. It was Fatmata Bintu Foster Jones who asked, have they buried the child yet? No, Fatmata, they have not. And just Karimu Kenneth, just saying, I'm happy the people are happy to come out. And Fadima Savage, together we can win this, all hands on deck. Thank you for all the comments. I'll try and weave some more in as we go on with the last half hour of the show, but thank you. So it's important that we understand that what happened to Khadija, this little child, is part of the broader culture of gender inequity, of gender discrimination, of its gender-based violence. She was attacked because of the position of females in the country, and that largely underpins a lot of this, as we see it play out across the world. Of course, there are also boys and men who are also the victims of gender-based violence, of sexual violence. I don't want to minimize them or exclude them from the conversation, but more often than not, we're seeing women and girls being the targets. And with that, more often than not, we're seeing women and girls attacked, violated by men. So the question has to be, what's the role of men here? What's the role for men to be playing as we tackle this issue, as we try and dismantle a rape culture, as we try and get a criminal justice system that's working for women and girls, as we try and change attitudes? What is the role of men? I have a guest here who is on the front lines of this fight in South Africa. He was appointed in 2014 by former South African President Jacob Zuma to the position of Commissioner of the Commission for Gender Equality. He's still in that role. He's also a member of the Sonke Gender Justice. The Sonke Gender Justice, that's an organization leading the fight against gender discrimination. I'm so pleased to welcome to the show Mbayiselo Botha. Welcome to the show, Mr. Botha.
Well, thank you so much, and good evening, and thank you for inviting me, Isha.
You're most welcome. Thank you. You're joining us there from Johannesburg, South Africa. Thank you for taking the time. Let me ask you to give me some context on the problem of sexual violence against, let's go with minors in South Africa. Of course, we're talking about a minor who was raped and murdered in Sierra Leone, little 5-year-old Khadija Sako. Give me some context as to the conditions in South Africa from your point of view.
Well, Aisha, it's quite on the rise. You have lots and lots of young girls, babies in some instances, who get raped and violated by their parents, by their uncles. So it's quite widespread. But the sad part, Aisha, is that more often than not, families don't report this because then for fear that this is going to stigmatize the family, you have issues where families would say, but this is within the family, let's talk it off. Some would even use culture, Aisha, where they would say, look, please do not take this outside the family structure. So that means it continues, it's promoted, this culture of silence.
What is the root cause of the violence in South Africa? You're doing this work, you're looking at the studies. What does it show?
Well, Aisha, there's no one size fits all. There are many reasons, and there are many causes. One of the major things that all of us have not been able to deal with is that, Isha, we are in a country that had used for many years, for centuries in fact, had used violence as an instrument to control people. I mean, when you look at how apartheid violence brutalized black people in particular, you would understand that we actually are a country that began to normalize violence, to look at it as but just one of those things that we look our way or you look the other way because you think that it's actually normal, because that's how violence in this country had actually been institutionalized, has been made part of the system of government in the last 400 odd years, Aisha. So we are dealing with all of us trying to deal with the violent past in our country that we've not been able to deal decisively with.
There's often an argument that pushes back on that and says a significant number of perpetrators of violence against women and girls committing these rapes and murders, a lot of those involved in these violent crimes were not born during apartheid. They never saw the violence. So how are they laying claim to the trauma? Can you speak to that?
Well, Isha, quite an important point you're raising. But you see, they grow up in families where violence has been normalized, where the father does not think that it's abnormal. So you grow up thinking, well, every day you're related, and it's just a norm. So you grow up thinking and internalizing it as this is normal. This is how the family structure is. This is how women are treated. This is how babies are treated. This is how the girl child is treated, because you see it happening and you don't hear anybody raising an objection, because then it's like, it's one of those things. So this is how it's internalized, it's normalized, it's institutionalized. Where you end up, Isha, where you think that as growing up as a boy, that in fact, violence is a way of life in our country.
So you've laid out the scale of the problem, how some of the reasons for how we got here. Talk to me about the work you've been doing to stop this, to change this.
Well, work that I've been doing, and now that I've joined the Commission for Gender Equality, you have in the 9 provinces, you have men and women who are doing education, who are doing with traditional leaders, who are doing education with faith-based religious leaders, who are doing work in the corporate world. Now, Aisha, these are institutions that, in fact, are gatekeepers. These are institutions that promote patriarchy, that promote the culture of silence. I mean, if you look at traditional leaders, how what is being taught. I mean, you go and talk about how faith-based religious leaders, I mean, all of them, be they Jewish, be they Christian, be they Hindu, the common denominator is that the woman's role is, in fact, it's not important. The woman is relegated to nothingness, to subjugation. The woman is relegated to an inferior being. So you have institutions that continue to propagate this type of teachings. And young boys, young girls grow up thinking, as I said earlier, Aisha, to think that this is really normal.
How do we stop it? What are the concrete steps that we can take?
I think, Aisha, I think it's important for us. Number one, I think it's important to make sure that those that are caught, their sentence, I mean, the law is seen to be strong, that you have steep sentences. But also, secondly, in our country, it's important that a police, I mean, you do proper investigation. Imagine what would happen if I know, as an abuser, that the chances of being caught are very high. Chances are slim that I would have this impunity or a sense of invisibility. When I know that the police in my country, in South Africa, would do a perfect job in arresting me. So you need to instill that there will be arrest. But above that, you need to make sure that the sentences could be stiff and the message would be sent that you will not get away with murder, literally.
And so, again, how important is it to have men visible and vocal in this fight? How does that change the dynamics of the efforts to win this battle when men are involved, such as yourself?
Well, I think it's what makes it more important is that you're calling each other out. You're saying that you will not violate women in my name. You will not use culture in my name. You in fact are encouraging men to say that this is not normal. This does not represent who we are. Because women don't rape themselves. Women don't violate themselves. Asia, unless until, as a country, or the whole world for that matter, men are in the forefront calling each other out. Unless men are saying that this violence will not happen in my name, violence will continue unabated. In fact, we'll see it, escalating because the real perpetrators are not women. The real perpetrators are not girl children. And if the messaging, Aisha, changes, that I, raising my grandchildren, that I don't speak to my granddaughter, I speak to my grandboys, to my grandchildren who are boys. And the messaging is changing that when I speak to Lireku, my son, to say that your sister's body must be respected. If we do that as men to our boys, chances are that we are going to create a new generation of boys who will not accept violence, who will not look at violence as a norm. So engaging men is critical in ensuring that we're saving ourselves another generation, but we're also creating a new type of men who will grow up and not think that it's okay to violate women, to violate other men in particular.
Yeah. Marcelo Botha, thank you for joining us. This is a conversation that I want us to keep going, so I hope you'll come back and join us because I think there's still a lot more to unpack here. But thank you so much for joining us today and really stressing the need to have men at the forefront of this fight and making clear that you don't rape in my name, you don't represent me, and I reject this wholeheartedly. So thank you. Thank you for the work you're doing.
Thank you, Isha. Thank you so much. Good night.
Thank you. Good night. Stay safe. Again, important perspective as we commit ourselves to tackling this issue of gender-based violence in the weeks ahead. We'll be bringing lots of different voices from across the continent to see how people are doing in respective countries of fighting this, what's working, what's not working, what can we learn from each other. So I just want you to know that this is something that we will continue to stay on. Even as we expand and add more stories into the mix, we will firmly commit to tackling this issue in a meaningful way as we go forward. So I give you my word on that. Let's move on and talk about survivors and what help they can expect, what help they need. Too often, the survivors of this kind of abuse don't have anywhere to go, which sometimes means they stay in dangerous situations. They don't find the environment around them to be one where they can speak out, so they suffer in silence. In 2018, 3 women came together in Ghana and decided that the situation there needed remedying, and they set about building a safe house. And the 3 co-founders, Isabel Afol-Mensah, Akosua Achiapong, and Teresa Barnes, said, enough is enough. We need to find a solution. Take a look.
We don't like to talk about abuse in Ghana. It is not culturally appropriate. And yet, a third of all women experience violence, with those under the age of 19 4 times more likely to be victims of abuse. And uneducated women, up to 2.5 times more likely. 38.7% of married women have experienced physical, psychological, and/or sexual violence by a husband or intimate partner. Abuse comes in all forms, with regional epicenters. Abuse breaks down family and social infrastructures, burdens our health facilities, and limits the economic contribution of survivors. Sadly, there is little funding for vulnerable women, and alarmingly, there are no operational safe houses in Ghana. Abused women have nowhere to seek refuge, and the support needed for rehabilitation. This has to stop.
Well, I'm so pleased to say that joining us from Accra are 2 of the 3 co-founders. Isabel Afol-Mensah and Akosua Achiapong join me now. Ladies, welcome.
Hello, thank you for having us.
It's good to have you with us.
Hi.
Hi.
Thanks for having us.
Let me start by asking you, Akosua, why there are no safe havens, safe shelters for victims of violence in Ghana. What do you make of that?
Well, firstly, it's such a sad situation. And as of the time that we had started this and we had put, 2 and 2 together to establish a safe house within Accra, there were no operational safe houses. Firstly, because of the sheer lack of resources. Some people had started, but then eventually they had to shut down or close down because the demand was so high, yet there weren't enough resources to resource the shelters. Thankfully, in 2020, we have one shelter that was closed down. It has reopened through, crowdsourcing and sourcing for funds. but also that is still not enough, because then you're still treading the same dangerous path of having more demand for the support and less ability to support that using resources, money, funding, whatever have you. So that is really the problem. And I mean, this is just basic, but when you look at the underlying or the connecting factors, the fact that it's really not high on the government's agenda, because this honestly is supposed to be a service that is provided by state agencies, for one. But then even there's a struggle for funding. There's a struggle to get their own shelter running and up and going. And it's really not seen as a big issue. Like, still, even though this is happening every single day, people don't see it as a real issue that we need to tackle, that needs to, we need to invest in, as we would invest in oil, energy, like in technology. We don't see it on the same scale. So I believe that these could be the factors why, we have what it is in Ghana.
Isabel, to bring you in, as Axel lays out how we got to a place where essentially the demand outstrips the supply of services, what will Pearl Safe Haven, what will it provide to survivors?
Well, our focus is to provide the first place of refuge. Even just this week, we've had 2 women who've reached out to us and are in abusive situations and they need exit. So the first point is obviously giving them refuge, giving them a place of escape. We often think of implications, but there's so much emotional and mental and psychological trauma that happens to victims. And so you need a safe haven, which is why we call it a haven and not a house. It's not just a physical place, but it's a place where they can come for restoration and actually feel secure. Once that is established, the next thing is really to provide practical skills to our women. Many women stay in abusive relationships because of economic means. Usually there's a mental issue, but usually there's economic issues that requires them to stay in an abusive relationship. In Ghana, our statistics are 35% of perpetrators are the father. So this is not a situation where in other countries where, the rape is a third party that you don't know was an opportunistic rape or a friend. In our culture, it's really the father, the uncle, the cousin. And so we're really talking about an intimate form of intimate violence. So the person needs to go away, but the person also needs a means by which to regain their own independence. And that's really helping them to provide some sustainable form of work. Or for the very young ones, we'll be looking at young girls from the age of 18 up, helping them actually go into some form of training or university. So really what we say is the woman needs to be empowered to exit. We don't want to create a dependency culture. The idea is not to have women that want to stay forever and ever in the safe house. We are planning for them to stay for 3 months at a time. And it really is to help them through the restoration, help them through legal starting their legal, means if they want to. Not every woman wants to take their case to court. And again, that's because of the intimate nature of our violence. But where they do, we help them do that. But really get them restored and then help them to actually exit the safe house in a way that's sustainable for them.
Actually, if I could turn back to you, I heard Isabel, talk about, the culture there. When you're in an environment where, as you've already laid out, the demand for such services outstrips the supply, the availability of safe houses or havens, as you call yours, you've got to, at the end of the day, even if you could build all the havens you want, you don't want to have to. You want to change the culture. You want to stop this from happening. So how do you do that? What are your thoughts on the solutions here to turning the tide?
Yeah, that is a very big question because it's if gender-based violence, if rape, assault was just a single incident, that you could, just directly deal with that particular incident and then, that's the end of it. It would be a simple fix. However, you have this happening as a result or as a fruit of the kind of society we live in. And so you are no longer dealing with a particular incident, and you're not dealing with systems, structures. And when you now start to deal with a whole society, a whole system, a whole structure, it becomes much more complex. But the first thing is, and for me, for my background in sociology, I always like going back to the very basic, right? And perhaps it would be the way to raise up our next generation. Perhaps in this generation, we might not get a total elimination of that. But then if as individuals, for myself, who is now going to start my own family, for others that are starting their own families, what really is going into the process of socialization, and what are you telling your boys and your girls? How are you socializing them to perceive themselves and perceive their role in society and their position in society? Because that really is the root cause of it. If you put one person together with another person, you create a whole community. And so if you can start by changing the minds of the little ones, then you can build a community that is more, cohesive, that is more equal. But then if we don't do that, if we are people, as individuals, we're still bringing up people to still think the way our old generations thought of, like the way they think, to think of themselves as boys as being, the ones that are supposed to carry all the power within the family. They are the ones supposed to be, bigger, higher. They shouldn't be questioned. The woman is supposed to keep quiet, be meek, and stay humble, and stay within those settings. Then we have a problem. So we need to change that. It has to go into parenting, has to go into socialization. The second thing that we often don't talk much about is religion. Within our African settings, within the Ghanaian setting, it's a very religious society. You cannot talk about gender-based violence without tackling the religious aspects of it. Unfortunately, a lot of people take advantage of religious texts, be it Christian, be it Muslim, be it any type of religion, and they weaponize that against the women. If they weaponize that against, people within the society. And so we really need to get into those spaces, and we need to get into the minds of, religious leaders, religious communities, churches, mosques, and really, start to do a clarification process. One of the things that I witnessed a couple of years ago, 2 years ago, was an assembly, like a conference of Muslim religious leaders, and they came together with Christian leaders to clarify the text, the holy text, the Bible and the Quran, and talk about the fact that there is nowhere in the Bible that condones violence. And this is what we need to get across to people, and this is what we need to be preached in the churches. Believe it or not, a lot of people, whether he has a PhD, whether he has a master's degree, they go to church and they believe the words of their pastors. I mean, religion is still the opium of the masses. And so we need to realize that people are using it in market squares to preach about how women should still remain in abusive relationships or abusive marriages, because then when they die, they're going to eventually go to heaven. And I'm like, someone is still buying into this. And this is like, there's a market here called Circle. Like, it's not a market, it's like a place. It's like a bus station. And there's this pastor who stands there almost every single day preaching this message. And there are people that give him money for preaching this message.
That message.
Yeah,
I got to,
exactly. Like they incentivize it.
I can't even believe it.
Incentivize.
The spread
They recognize them as a man of God, and they go ahead and they do this always. So religion is very important within this context, and we need to have deep conversations about it.
I couldn't agree more. I'm flabbergasted to hear you say that. Thank you for that. Very quickly, I've got less than 10 seconds. And so Isabel, just tell me how quickly before you open your doors to the public, where do things stand before I let you guys go?
Phase one will open in August. We'll be able to accommodate up to 12 women, and then by end of September, October, we'll have the full house done. The ability to accommodate 20 women.
Okay, all right. Well, we will be keeping track of how things are going. We wish you the very best It's very, very much
Thank
needed.
you so.
No, thank you. Thank you for the work you're doing. We are grateful for you for keeping women and girls safe. Isabella Afulmensa and Akosua Achepong, thank you. Thank you, ladies. Be safe.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for having us on.
Thank you. We need intervention at every part here. As you heard Akosua say, leaders, we need to get everybody joining the fight to stamp this out. I do want to say once again thank you to everyone who tuned in, everyone who sent messages. This message from Jerry Kaba saying the minister was on AYV. I'm not entirely sure which minister she means. If she's referring to the Minister of Gender, I'm not sure. But the minister was on AYV 2 days ago. She highlighted very good strategies, including establishing one-stop center, legal actions and social integration. This is referencing Sierra Leone. Stop center, legal actions and social reintegration of victims on addressing the issues around GBV and rape. If implemented, most of the challenges will be addressed. Well, yeah, I mean, anyone can write a wish list and anyone can say what they intend to do. The question is not declaring the intention, but the follow through. And that's what we're here to follow up on. The follow through, to make sure that it is not just a case of giving speeches and giving lists and saying this is what's on the list, but how are you following through and where are we with getting these things up and running so that we can indeed start to support survivors, and more importantly, we can start to dismantle this culture and prosecute perpetrators. There was a declaration of a national emergency against rape last year, 2019. There were also a number of pillars that were declared then. We're no closer to achieving any of those. At least that's what it looks like from where we sit and as we speak to activists on the ground. So let's be very careful when we talk about lists and promises. They're good. We appreciate them. We want to know that people are listening, that our leaders are taking this seriously. But you know what will prove that they're taking it seriously? When we actually start to see action. That's what will prove it. Just want to say a lot of people are asking about why I'm turning up at this time, which is earlier than normal for the last 3 months. We have moved the show. This is our new official slot. We will be going now at 10 p.m. to 10 p.m. I've lost all track of time myself. 10 a.m. Pacific, which is 1 p.m. If you're on the east coast of the United States, and if you are in Africa, if you're GMT, what is that? It's +7. So what is that? I think that's 5. I'm trying to do some quick maths here. That's 5 p.m. So we're moving it earlier. Again, full transparency. We felt it would be better time so more people could tune in, because we were having a lot of feedback from people that the time we were at just wasn't working. So we have made that shift. This is our new permanent home. You will be able to tune in to us on Wednesdays and Thursdays, also to make that clarification, Wednesdays and Thursdays at this new time that you're watching us now. And then on Friday, I will be on Instagram for The Bright Side. So, and there's a replay on Sunday. So you won't get to miss me, is what I'm saying. I'll be around. But Wednesday and Thursday at this time. Friday, it will be on Instagram. That's The Bright Side. Sunday, we'll replay the Thursday show. So you can catch it if you miss it on Sunday. So, you know, that is where we're at. That is why we've made the change. Let me say thank you once more to everybody who tuned in today, everybody who wrote in. Thank you for being part of the effort, being part of the movement for change in Sierra Leone and around the world. We are not looking for change tomorrow, in the future. Change is now. Thanks for joining, everyone. Be safe.